Hello, readers. Welcome to Book Launch, the best thing to happen to Tuesdays since tacos. Tonight we have Todd Fahnestock and his fourth book in the Legacy of Shadows series under the Eldros Legacy banner, Slater and the Dragon. Slater has been given a terrible choice. The dragon who destroyed the city of the Dark Elves has alighted in Usura. His plan? To incinerate the Crown City. He finds and forces Slater into a game, an insidious choice that will glut the dragon's hunger for suffering. It is a game only the dragon can win. But Slater outwits him. The dragon vows revenge and sets in motion the prophesied conflict. Giants awaken in the land. The wheels of war begin to turn. Khyven, Laurel, Ren, and Von all stand ready to fight. But it is 5 mortals against a horde of godlike beings. Only the most brilliant mind can pierce this impossible fog of war. Slater is pushed to the forefront and must uncover the solution. But can he do it in time? Or will darkness consume the lands at last? Ooh, so exciting. I mean, it's called Legacy of Shadows. Doesn't that mean darkness is supposed to consume the land?
Well, I don't want to give any spoilers or anything, but you know.
You named it. I love it. Well, Slater has been a huge fan favorite. So I'm going to guess that there are people that just are so eager that this book is coming out with him being the main star this time. What made you wait so long to make him the star?
Well, okay, so there's actually a really interesting story behind that because Slater is an ADHD mage. He also has an IQ of like 400. Like he's just so ridiculously smart. It's
an
like
ADHD thing.
Right? Yeah, I think it is. There was one guy that was talking about how ADHD is not like a medical condition; it's a superpower. If you harness it in the right way, it's a superpower.
Yep, that's the trick.
And in this, so I have avoided. I mean, like I actually have ADHD, and have had my whole life. Didn't know that until my son was diagnosed with ADHD, and I was like, well, I've got that too. And that marker there, and there's the other marker. Oh my gosh, and you kind of figure it out. Because back when I was a kid, it was just, well, you were spacey, or, you didn't pay attention, or whatever it was.
Unless you had the anger part of ADHD and was a big problem in the classroom, you didn't get diagnosed.
They didn't notice. Exactly.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And you wouldn't know it now, but I was such the sweet peacemaker when I was in high school. Like, I didn't want to ruffle any feathers or do anything adventurous. I was like, keep the status quo. That changed really hard once I left high school. But anyways, that's a different story.
So anyways,
my whole life I wanted to write books pretty much the way that Slater speaks, but I was like, you can't do that. You have to form it. You have to make sure that it is trying to accomplish something so that people can follow you and then see what you're trying to say by the end of it, right? And so the reason that I waited so long with Slater is because I didn't think people would want that. Because his mind is all over the place. Great example in Ren the Traveler. So how many people here in the chat have read Ren the Traveler? Raise your hand. So essentially in Ren the Traveler, there is the first chapter ever that we come from Slater's perspective, right? And essentially the game time, like novel time for the characters, is about 30 seconds. The chapter is about 4.5 pages long, and it's everything that Slater is thinking in those 30 seconds, right? And I mean, he's thinking about all kinds of things, most of which don't have anything to do with the dire life and death predicament that they are in right at that moment. Like, he's thinking about his welcome mat in front of his laboratory, and he's thinking about the different spells that he's used to protect his laboratory, and he's thinking about porridge, and he's thinking about, there's all these things that he's thinking about, as well as figuring out what it is that they need to do to defeat these undead giants that are coming at them at that moment. And of course he does, because, if you know anybody who has ADHD, we tend to think better when there's more stuff coming at us than if it's just one. We will focus like completely and utterly on one thing, but also our mind tends to free up, or at least my mind tends to free up when there's multiple stimuli. It's almost like there's too many things that are happening in my brain. And so if I can have, a half dozen bits of stimuli pulling away all this side stuff, then I can focus on the thing that I need to focus on. Slater is just like that. So I avoided writing him for a couple reasons, and that was one of the main ones, is I thought people just wouldn't be interested. And I tell you, you wouldn't believe the number of neurodivergent people that came out of the woodwork. It's like, I love Slater. He thinks just like I think. And I'm like, I'm not alone.
That's
I mean,
right.
it's just been really, really great. The response that I've gotten about Slater. It's just been really fantastic.
Yep. I love it. I agree. So that might be why I liked him, and I didn't even put all the pieces together, Oh, we have echoing. Are we good? Okay, we're good. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And the Carson Lacey says the cover is amazing.
Thank you, Carson.
So yeah, it's nice. And now this cover art, this is part of that big, big, beautiful piece of art that you have done that kind of represents the world. Like, did you do that on purpose so that you could chop it up for the covers?
Yes, that is exactly what happened. I mean, like Rashid Alakroka is the amazing artist. So those of you that don't know, every cover that I do at this point is done by Rashid. He is my cover artist, and I probably have more of his artwork in my pantheon of books than anybody else in the world. So I'm very proud of that, and I hope that he never ditches me. Like I just love the guy. He's so easy to work with. He's such a fantastic human being, and he also is an amazing, amazing artist, and he just keeps getting better. And so essentially, I came to him and I said, "Hey, look, I need another 8x8 banner for my con stuff." And I said, I've also got 4 more books coming out, or 5, no, it was 3 more books at that point coming out in the series. Can we do some double work here? Because Rashid is not cheap. I'm like, is there any way we can make this big banner and then, like you said, kind of chop it out? Because like Ren the Traveler cover comes from that, as well as Slater and the Dragon, both of them come from that. And I was planning to do a 3rd cover from that, but I just couldn't resist asking him to do new stuff. So Bane of Giants will be a completely new cover. And if you haven't seen that, I don't know where I can throw that so that you can see it. Can I throw that in the chat somewhere or something like that? Or maybe I should just send it off to Kevin.
Yeah, if you email it to Kevin or have Becca do it if she has access.
I bet Becca could do that in like 2 seconds.
Yeah,
Let's see.
You've been challenged, Becca. You've been challenged. And then Zafo can put it up.
The gauntlet has been thrown down. So yeah. So maybe send that if Becca can do anything. Yes. Yes, she can.
We're gonna see if she really is the cheese whiz.
So yeah, send Bane of Giants, and then if you want to, Becca, send Baby Bane for them to see, because Baby Bane is like, not only did we do a different cover for Bane of Giants, which I just, it's so good. The big bad is on that cover, and if you ever were not afraid of a giant that has like Gandalfian level magical powers, you will be soon. And then I couldn't resist because that cover the banner that you were talking about with the 5 characters. Originally, there were 4 different sketches that he did for that, and he wanted sketch B, and I wanted sketch A, and we argued about that for a long time. In the end, I prevailed and I got sketch A, but Rashid has been wanting to do sketch B for a very long time, and finally I was just like, you know what? Screw it. Do it.
No.
Do it. We'll find a place for it. I'm going to make a poster out of it, and we will make a book cover. So we've got this really cool preview booklet. So Bane of Giants doesn't come out till July 2nd. Okay. But we're going to have a preview booklet at Planet Comic Con. We're going to have a preview booklet at Denver Fan Expo. And then the big rollout, the big rollout's going to be also at Denver Fan Expo for the anyway. So we're going to have this preview booklet where people get to read the first quarter of the book if they want to. And some people may not want to because it does end that, it's just a quarter of a book. There's no resolution whatsoever. It just kind of gives you a taste. But it's also a collector's item. I mean, that piece of art is not going to be on any other book except for that preview booklet. So anyways.
That's awesome. Hey, we love this art in books, man. Readers, we like to collect books too, right? We're book hoarders, not just readers. So no, that's very clever. And beautiful art. I mean, come on. How can we not want that?
So, agreed.
Oh, I need to check and make sure that, because Becca might email it to me. She has my email. So yeah, Becca, if you just email it anywhere, we'll make sure it happens. But we'll get that up there. So you've answered my question, because one thing I wanted to ask was, is this like the last, because I haven't read it yet. So if this was the last book in this series, or so you've got some more coming still in the Shadows series.
So yeah, so the Slater and the Dragon is the 4th out of 5. There's going to be 5 books in the Legacy of Shadows, so we're going to wrap it all up. And that book is a beast. I mean, like as far as size. So Kaivan the Unkillable, I think, is like 100,000 words. Laurel and Ren are like 110,000 words. Slater and the Dragon is like 120, 125, and freaking Bane of Giants is like going to be pushing 140, maybe even 145. So it's going to be a big finale. I'm hoping that it will be satisfying for the readers. I think so. The only person to have read it at this point is Becca, my assistant. So she gave it a thumbs up, but I think, we just never know how the readers are going to take it. Although
she's a little biased.
She might be a little biased. She would, go full on paladin on you if she heard you saying that. Right now she's away at her,
she's busy trying to work.
So maybe she didn't hear that, but
I don't mean that as a bad thing. It's a good thing. You need those super fans, man. You need the super fans. And here's the thing, though. You've finished series before, so I have no doubt. This is not the first series that you have concluded, so I have no doubt it's going to be amazing. And a longer book at the end is perfectly satisfying because if you read all the way to the end, you want all of that. You know what I mean? So no, that's perfect. Yeah.
I mean, for me, with stories that I like, the longer they go on, the happier I am. A sign of a good story is you're like, no, there's only like 30 pages left, and I want more. But I will say this, and I realize this is supposed to be about Slater and the Dragon. I'm talking about Bane of Giants, but truthfully, they're kind of one story. Like Slater is a cliffhanger, and then Bane of Giants finishes out the story for both what was begun in Slater and the Dragon and the entire 5-book series. But there are 36,000 words, so that is more than a quarter of the book. That is just denouement. Just the falling action, just epilogues, one after the other after the other.
Well, we need that after 5 books. I love it.
That's what I'm thinking, right? So I think that's, and I wasn't intending that. I was thinking there was going to be like, it's going to be a huge number of epilogues. There's going to be like 3 or 4 epilogues, and I think there are like 10. Like,
wow.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I just kept thinking of other things that the readers might want to know about. And so I would, right. So it's like kind of like the end of Lord of the Rings. Like we have the big battle, and then there's like everybody's going back to Minas Tirith, and they're honoring the hobbits.
You got a wedding, and you have a
yeah, and you go back to the Shire, and it's like, this is what it's like now. We're all happy in the Shire, and then we go to the Grey Havens, or at least the dock that heads off to the Grey Havens. We have more goodbyes there. I mean, it just went on and on and on, which was really satisfying. We're all wanting to stay in Middle Earth as long as we can, and I think they really fed the fans on that one. That was really good of them to do. So.
I agree. So nicely done. I mean, you could do worse than Lord of the Rings, right? I think that's something to honor. Yeah, for sure. That's nice. Yes, Tara says hefty book. Yes, it is a hefty book, but there are books that are really big for no reason. It sounds like 145 is totally reasonable, quite frankly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, epic fantasy, some of those can get up to like 250,000 words. I mean, look at Brandon Sanderson and his Stormlight Archive. Those things are just getting bigger and bigger all the time. And they were freaking huge to begin with. I think they're like, 1,000-page books in the first place. And I think they're just getting bigger. So
it took me a year just to read the first Mistborn series. So I've been afraid to tackle. We were talking earlier before the show about how really big books, because I'm, I write for a living, I edit for a living, I'm, reading for a living. So when I get to read for fun, it takes me a lot longer. So I don't have nearly as much. So yeah, I have not tackled that one yet. But I did want to ask, so I've got the email, so I'm going to forward this to Zafo. But meanwhile, I do want to talk about in our last night at the Jolly Chicken, you were generous enough to give us a story with Khyven and Slater in it. And it was a lot of fun for us, and it was very clever because they got brought into this world, into Kevin Petway's Misplaced Adventures world, from your world, and then they went back again. So I'm wondering, did that have any impact on them? Did that show up in the stories, or was just a blurb? Because I mean, let's face it, they're fighting huge things anyways.
Right. So it was there was no impact from that short story to the meta plot, and I figured it was probably better if I didn't do that. However, it is slotted in when they're traveling, when Khyven and Slater are traveling from Usara to Westcone Keep, which is Slater's ancestral home. That is when they see the card in the field. Like, I know exactly in the book where that happens. It's like right before or right after they meet a bunch of bandits who are like, look, there's these 2 people on the road, and one of them's really skinny. Let's attack them. And they don't realize that they're attacking, the probably the mage of the land, as well as Khyven the freaking unkillable. Like, you don't want to do that. That's a bad idea. Um,
It's not like they were on TV everywhere, so they'd recognize their faces, right? So,
right.
yeah.
Although they do, a couple of them do recognize Khyven at the end after a few of the brigands have been put down, and they run like hell. Oh, one of the other cool things about Slayer and the Dragon that I love so much, and I don't even know why I ended up creating this character, but I love him. I just love him so much. Is the horse that Khyven is riding, right?
Uh-huh.
And the horse's name is Sunrise, but he is like he was picked by this young girl at the palace, this young noble girl, and she wanted to ride this pretty stallion, and he is just the meanest freaking thing ever, right? Of course, Khyven is probably about equally mean, which is why he chose this horse, and they are constantly fighting. Khyven is no horseman. Like Khyven the Unkillable is so good at so many things, and the one thing that he's not good at is riding a freaking horse. Like if you'll notice that in Khyven the Unkillable, they go on a ride, and this guy, this gladiator, he doesn't know how to ride horses. This is not his thing, and so he keeps almost falling off. Whereas Ren and Laurel are accomplished equestrians, and Khyven is just fumbling in this area. So he tries to learn in this book. He tries to learn how to ride a horse. Laurel tries to teach him, but she's just naturally good. Which sometimes people who are naturally good at something are lousy instructors.
Communicated.
And so
that's right.
It's like, why can't you just get it? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how to do what you're telling me to do, right? And so Ren ends up teaching him instead. And he, of course, picks the worst horse in the whole stable. And she's like, we need to get you some horse with a little bit more fire, because they sense that you're a predator and they get skittish. So a horse with a little bit more personality is probably going to be better for you. So he goes and he picks the biggest, strongest, meanest horse. And she's like, no, that horse will kill you. Let's pick something else. And of course, Khyven being Khyven is like, nope, that's the one. And so they're constantly fighting. This horse is constantly trying to bite him. But when the brigands attack, the horse all of a sudden becomes this amazing protector and like kills one of the brigands, just stomps him to death. Like he just goes after him and is just killing this brigand. Anyway, so I think that's the only brigand that dies, is the one that the horse kills, because
the horse attacks.
Yeah, because Khyven has been
the wooden, right?
Yes. Vaughn has prevailed upon Khyven to be a little bit more diplomatic, so he gives him this sword, this wooden sword that has in Usaran runes inscripted the diplomat. So when Khyven wants to be a diplomat, he just bludgeons people down with this wooden sword. You know what? Oh, here's a special thing that I could do. Quincy J. Allen is starting his sword making business, and I'm not kidding you, he is good. And these are like just preliminary efforts. So as one of his sort of like journeyman pieces, he's like, I'm going to make you the diplomat. Do you want to see it?
Yes.
Okay, hold on just a second. I'm going to vanish from the screen for just a second. I'll grab it for you.
That's all right. We want to see it, and we edit now. I can magically make you appear again, like you never left. I know the gifts.
So
love the name of Hellface.
I don't have Hellface in my office, unfortunately, but
it might cause some problems.
So this is the diplomat, or at least that's the first part of it. So those are the runes.
So cool.
This thing is like, it's like 5 feet long. It's a very, very long sword. But the balance is just so amazing. Like this thing is just, it's so beautiful in the hand, right? I mean, it's just, I love this thing. And it's got a lot of length to it. So like, I can't swing this around in the house just because it's so long. But props
I think you mean shouldn't swing it around in the house.
I have a couple of times.
We talked about ADHD first, remember?
Right? I've got a sort of practice sword that I walk around with while I'm thinking, and I'm twirling it. And I've actually trained myself to twirl it as I'm walking through doorways. Like I keep it really tight to the body. Anyways, can't do that with this one because it's too freaking long. So
I love that. Well, look, you study martial arts too, don't you?
Yes.
Yes. Have you done any weapons training?
Yes.
In martial arts? Yeah. So you would actually know what to do with that thing.
I would definitely know what to do with that thing, for sure.
I love that. Do you ride horses too?
I don't ride horses right now. I have ridden horses in the past. Becca is an accomplished equestrian, and I tell her all the time that I'm so much better.
I didn't know that. We could have talked about that, Becca.
Yes, she can ride a horse. She says, "I'll teach you." I know how to ride a horse, Becca. I can ride. I'll keep up with you. You give me Hellface, and I'll keep up with you.
How did that work out for Khyven again?
Probably about as well as it would work out for me.
I have to say that when you're describing it, it sounds like a sibling thing between Kyvan and Hellface. You know, like it's like Hellface is like, I get to pick on you, but nobody else gets to pick on you.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, I'm trying to chomp on your leg, but don't touch my rider. Don't anybody touch my rider.
Don't you dare. Yeah. I love that.
Hellface actually wants to get in and mix it up with the dragon when the dragon shows up. Like Hellface wants to attack the dragon. He's crazy. Like the horse is not sane. It's not a sane horse, but very strong and very fast, and he's a very interesting
stallion. I mean, stallions are a little crazy, though mares are crazier. Becca would tell you that mares are actually way crazier. They're maddening. When we went to buy my daughter's horse, the rule was geldings. We're only looking at geldings. We're not even looking at mares. Yeah, see, Becca says truth. Yeah, mares are the actual crazy ones. But a big old stallion makes sense to Kyvan for me. So Slater. So going back to Slater. Now, mind you, this is the fourth book in the series. So, talking about any of the series makes sense, right? It started with Kyvan, so that totally works. So anyone who has been there and done that, then you're ready for this next one. Is Bane, what was the Bane one called? It's just Bane of Giants. Is that one, is it up for pre-order yet?
It is not. It will be up for pre-order probably in the next month or so. It's coming out in July, so we've got time. But
excellent. So make sure to look at your to keep track and get on Todd's newsletter so that you will know when it comes up. But yeah, so we've got Zafo has the cover up too, so it's really pretty. So this cover, this is from the new piece of art. Is that what you're saying?
That is, and that's Baby Bane. We're calling that Baby Bane. It's a preview booklet. So those are the two pieces of art. So nice. They're kind of cycling through Slater and the Dragon, and then Bane of Giants is the one with the big muscular giant guy, and Kyvan standing in the foreground having to face him. And then the preview booklet, which Becca entitled Baby Bane, is with the group.
With the group one. I love it. Yeah, no, the art's amazing. Kevin Petway got some art done with your artist as well. So we definitely have much respect for him. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Yes. Tara is very impressed. I know they're beautiful. So it's nice to see the covers and know we're coming. And I know that there was supposed to be, so the giants are coming and they're going to fight them. Are any of the other heroes from the other continents going to come?
Not at this stage. Okay. So the idea is once the other authors get up to 5 books, then we're going to start crossing over. So there will be, for some of the characters, the ability to go and be part of this big finale. But I just was so focused on getting this story done. It just kept going. It just kept rolling. And so I gotta chill my heels a little bit and let them catch up.
Yeah, it seems to me I remember that you were the last one who signed on and the first one to get the first book done.
Yes, that is true. Well, Kyvan just jumped off the page, It
was just meant
to be. He wanted to be born. There was no question about that.
I love that. I love it. Crack the whip, Todd. Tara says crack the whip. Get them with it. Todd's like, if I controlled the world, trust me. We can't always control, man. We're doing the best we can writing. So some of us are faster than others. That's right. It's just that simple. Northern Lights says, so many books to read. Just so many. I know. Northern Lights is one of our super fans. And so she gets on and gets all of our early books and everything. So she's pretty awesome. Let's see. Becca says, can't pick a favorite among those covers. They are pretty nice, I have to admit. They just feel so alive. So it's nice to have the cover that's so alive.
He does such a fantastic job. I got nothing but good things to say about Rashid. He's so awesome in all the ways.
Yep, it's pretty impressive. So Slater, now these books, who are these books written for? As in who, is it? I know it's not YA genre, but is it safe for teenagers to read?
Yes, it is PG-13. That was the goal.
Perfect. That's what I was asking.
All of Eldros Legacy should be PG-13. That was the way that we wrote it. Gotcha. And so you should be able to probably even 12-year-olds and some 11-year-olds will probably enjoy it, but it's definitely PG-13 and up. There's no question.
Gotcha. Yeah, I always say it's you have advanced readers than younger. You know what I mean? So it just depends on the reader. Yeah, I understand that. As we are all writers, we were all advanced readers, right? That's how I controlled my ADHD. I read under the table. So I don't know how you did it, but that's how I did. I would read under my desk, and I could still pay attention at the same time. Like you said, sometimes having that extra stimulus is better for focusing, right? So I would read under, and it's so funny because the beginning of every year, my teacher would be like, "No reading under the table," blah blah blah, and it wouldn't take them long to realize that I was reading under the table, but I could answer all those questions, and I still got A's in all the tests. So they were like, "Never mind, I have other students I need to yell at. You know what? You just be you." Yeah. Yep, we all had to find a way to deal with it. So I love that. Yeah. Tara says that they used to do that too. Yeah, exactly. That's how we do it.
And Ellerby mentioned that the dragon is awesome. Ellerby, I'm not sure. I'm sure I know you. I just don't know you by Ellerby. But I'm so glad that you love Jai Katakos. Like he's also a fan favorite. In fact, I had one of my fans. Wait, was it you? No, wait. Somebody said I want the dragon to win. Like the bad guy. And they were like, "No, I want the dragon." It was Leslie. That's who it was. Leslie was like, "I love him so much. I want him to win." So, yeah.
Wait, you're not supposed to want the bad guy to win. What are you doing here, Leslie?
Oh, it's Leslie. Okay, that is Leslie. Ellerby is Leslie. Okay, so that's her. Yeah.
That's so funny. And Charlie Cox said that you tell a geldling, you ask a mare, and you discuss it with the stallion. That's exactly right. Yeah, I think obviously Charlie is also a horse person because that is exactly right.
There's a lot of discussion going on between Kyvan and Hellface for sure. That's what he named him. The name is not Sunrise anymore. It's Hellface. That's what Kyvan is called.
That's great. I love it. I mean, he could threaten to make him a gelding all the time. That's what we did with the one stallion we had at the barn. I'm like, you could be a gelding.
We can make that happen.
That's right. It's kind of too late after a certain time, though. It doesn't really matter at that point. But awesome. Charlie says guilty. Yep. Yeah, definitely. That only a horse person would know that. Captain Wyvern says ponies, the closer to the ground they are, the closer to Satan. Yes, exactly. Ponies are the worst. They're the worst. Every single time, no doubt. So this one's PG-13's fourth book in the series. We have one more out and a mini that's coming out. You do tons and tons of selling at cons. Yes. We were joking earlier that you've become known around writer circles as the con man. So if we're like, how do we do this? We're like, Todd, educate us. So you do tons of places. So you just mentioned the next ones you were going to was Denver. Comic-Con,
and what was is coming up this weekend. I've got Genghis Khan, which is actually in Aurora in my backyard, and then so after Planet Comic-Con, there's some question. We may be at Wicked West Comic-Con. We may go to WonderCon in LA, or rather Anaheim. So I'm not sure yet whether we're doing that one. Would kind of like to, but it's quite a drive. So those are the ones that are on deck. San Diego Comic-Con International is one that I'm going to now. And then FanX, obviously in Salt Lake City, Colorado Springs Comic-Con, I will be there. And then we hit the holiday cycle where there's some other stuff happening. Denver Christmas show, Colorado Springs Christmas show, that kind of thing. So yeah, everywhere I can go, and I'm always looking at new cons. At this point, I'm looking at getting invited, just sort of invited, comped booth, that kind of thing. So we're looking into that as well. So wherever invites me to do that, thither I shall go.
Sean again says that their area has started an art con, so they're hoping you can head out that way. Yeah, an art con would be fun. I'm wondering for the Christmas, the holiday season kind of stuff. Do you offer wrapping or anything when you do your books?
I do not. I have not yet. Not to say
we
that
thought about adding that for that season.
Like shipping signed books and wrapping them, that kind of thing. No.
I mean at conventions where we'd wrap them. Because we get a lot of people at that time of year that aren't necessarily buying books for themselves, they'll buy them for others. Like we get a lot of people in going, oh, my granddaughter loves to read, or, my niece is a big reader, so we get a lot of that kind of stuff. And so I was wondering if we're considering it. So I don't know what you thought about that idea.
So my issue with that would be it takes time. And if I'm selling at optimum level, I don't have time to stop in between. I mean, I could lose customers by stopping and wrapping. I mean, if I had somebody in the back wrapping, but then that's another cost to the con. And at this point, I'm kind of on a shoestring budget. So
yes, now that I understand too. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think that I would consider doing wrapping at the table, though I'm sure people would love that. But maybe not, because I'm no great shakes at wrapping, so they probably could wrap it better themselves.
They're rectangles. The rectangles are easy to wrap. That's
right. That's what I would say. But
It would be fun. Just get gift bags. That's what Ellerby says. Yeah, I mean, gift bags, I guess, would be fun, but there's something magical about wrapping because we're thinking about doing this big, like, nutcracker thing they have down here. And so it'd be cool if we offered that kind of thing. That's one of the things they do. So we were thinking about that.
Yeah.
So very cool. No, I understand that when you stop too long to talk, then you lose some customers. That's why when we get like people really enthusiastic to talk to us, we love to talk to them, but we also need to talk to everyone else who's walking by.
Yep.
So I understand.
I think it's very useful in situations like that to have a Becca. I recommend having a Becca. Anyone who asks me, if you can get a Becca, definitely have a Becca at the table because she can like take that. Like if somebody's coming up and then somebody else is like looking and I can't get to them because I'm in the middle of a pitch, she will take care of them.
Yeah, but now Becca has her own book to sell. She was just on one of our first guests. I mean, I don't know. You're going to need a third. You're just going to need someone else to come in.
Let me plug World Breaker for a second. And Becca's going to hate because she hates getting the spotlight. But this is
I have a hardback copy. I'm excited.
You should show it. Hold it up. Yeah, so World Breaker happens sometime between Slater and the Dragon I think it happens at the end of Ren the Traveler. It's pretty much between Ren the Traveler and Slater and the Dragon is when World Breaker happens, and it follows Kisara, who has this burgeoning power with the dark, and she hates it. She doesn't want it. She's totally the reluctant hero when it comes to that because it is scary. It keeps trying to pull her into the Noctum, and she keeps not wanting to go, right? And so she has to go on this journey, which has all manner of fantastic monsters. Boy, you want monsters, you've got to read something by Becca Lee Gardner. I mean, she brings the monster. She loves that stuff. She will quietly confide to me. It's like, I love violence. I'm like, really? You don't seem like the violent type. Oh no, but I love it. So the book is chock full of action. So many creative things. There is no wittier writer than Becca as well. So like there are moments where it's just so freaking funny. One of the characters, so it's this ensemble cast again, and it's led by Kisara, who has this sort of uncontrollable power surrounding the dark. And there's like 4 other characters, all of whom have varying personalities. And one of them is an ex-pirate queen. And she has this sort of dragon monkey on her shoulder that's called a Kappa Cat. And of course, she just is all aflutter about Khyven the Unkillable because he's famous now amongst the continent, right? And so she has named her monkey dragon Khyven the Kappa Cat. So you've got to read World Breaker, if for no other reason than Khyven the Kappa Cat.
I love it. And good job, Zapho, putting it right up there. Look at that.
Nice. There it is. There it is. Yeah, isn't it a fantastic cover? And that's the World Breaker. The World Breaker is like this enormous ending of the world monster. I remember when Becca reached out to me, she's like, okay, so I've got this monster that like his purpose and his ability is to end the world. And she's like, can I do that? I'm like, you can do whatever you want as long as he doesn't end the world. Like you can have the threat of him ending the world, and he just about does it as long as he doesn't actually end the world. Because we've got a different way that the world is ending, so we can't have the world end prematurely. So she's like, okay, done and done.
I love it. Well, that gets to, because this is a shared universe. And so you have to talk about what's happening in that. We are also doing our shared universe. So like we always have to go back to, the IP holder, Kevin Petway, to ask him, hey, I want to make up this new creature. Can I do this? I want to make up this new fish and I need to do this. All of these kind of things right there. How about this dish? Could this dish be possible? Like the simple things that take you, it's 5 seconds in a tavern, but you have to make sure it matches what the rest of the world is, right? Yep. So he's keeping track. He's got like this whole world Bible going. So he keeps track of all that stuff so we can research it. Do you have something like that, a world Bible to go?
Absolutely. Yes. And at this point, like everybody's running their own continent. Like Eldros Legacy is kind of separated into individual businesses that all work together. And so under my umbrella are Becca and then also Kendra Merritt. I don't know if you know Kendra Merritt. She's a phenomenal writer. In fact, like we were up for the Colorado Authors League Award, and there was like 3 finalists, and 2 of them were mine and 1 of them was hers, and she won. So that's like now a thing, like her Truth Stealer Eldros Legacy book beat out Laurel of the Dark. So it was, you're like,
wait a minute.
It's like, hey. So yeah, that was awesome. That was a great moment. We swept the category, right? I mean, it was like 2 Eldros books and Slate Wizards in my Whisper Prince trilogy. And she beat out both of mine. I was like, come on, I had like a 66.6% chance of winning that. Anyways, we joke about that. So now I'm coming after her. I'm coming after her this year with Ren the Traveler. I'm coming after her.
Yeah, but that's why you're awesome, because you write quickly, you write quality, and you're passionate about it, but you're not like egotistical about it. And I kind of really
Aw.
like that. So I'm wondering, do you have to like fight that ego? Does like Becca keep you grounded? Do your kids keep
Yes.
you grounded?
Yes.
Or is it just natural for you anyways?
No, I mean, like, I never wanted to be, if I ever become like super famous, like, I never wanted to be that kind of famous person that was like, oh, I'm sorry, but I can't look at you now. You are beneath me and I cannot associate with you.
Wait,
Like,
hold on. You're pretty tall. Most of us are beneath you, literally, like height wise. Just,
yeah, but I can do a Monty Python walk like nobody's business. I can get low and cruise along. No, so I mean it is intentional, but there are moments where I will be talking about this, that, or the other thing, and I'll realize I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I'm getting a little elitist, aren't I? Because I like good stories, and when I identify a story that I love, I rave about it. And when I identify a story that I'm like, okay, that's janky, like, and I don't understand why everybody loves this janky story. Like, I don't say that in person. I don't say
no,
that
me
to
neither.
people, and clearly I'm not identifying or calling any single author out, but there are stories that I like more than others, just as
Yep.
everybody does. But I don't think that it's appropriate to bandy that about, except behind the scenes with Becca. Like, I will tell Becca every single thing
Right?
that I think about various stories.
Yeah, I
But
will
yeah,
sit down with my writers group and we'll talk about it, but we don't post it online. We don't get on attacking
exactly.
people. Yeah.
Exactly. There's no point in attacking. I mean, and here's the truth of it. Here's the
Mhm.
actual truth: is that writing is so subjective. What I think is janky is somebody else's ambrosia, and I don't ever want to yuck somebody's yum. You ever heard that phrase where you yuck
Mhm.
somebody's yum? Anyways,
Yep.
that. There's no reason to do that. Like, people enjoy all the various things that they enjoy, and they
Mhm.
should. So if some series or genre is not for me, it's just not for me. That doesn't make it cosmically bad. And actually, I have a chip on my shoulder about people who think that certain things are cosmically bad. I did a lot of fighting when I was in college with academia about how this is good writing and this is bad writing, and I'm like, I'm not, I don't cotton to that. That is not, that is not my thing. I would fight that all the time because, of course, what I loved was fantasy genre fiction. And when you're going to school in like the early 90s,
Mhm.
all the genres were like, in fact, my creative writing teacher in college said that genre fiction was not real fiction. That is a direct quote. Like, it's not real fiction. And I'm still puzzling that together.
So
Well,
was it
what is
nonfiction?
real fiction?
I'm confused.
No, I think it's like if you write
Maybe
something
they thought it was all
contemporary,
real.
like, I don't know, like Hemingway's, The Winter of Our Discontent. That is true fiction. Whereas if something is just genre fiction, it's garbage, and it's just, I don't know. I didn't get it, and I didn't believe it then. I don't believe it now, and I think that extends to maybe things that I just don't understand, the genres that just don't hit my buttons, and that's totally fine. I think that other people should love them, enjoy them. I think there should be more love and enjoyment in the world. That's the side that I'm on.
Yes.
Is that side, right?
Yes.
So if you can find love
Preach.
and enjoyment from a
Mhm.
genre that I think is janky, more power to you. I'm sure there are plenty of people that consider my genre to be janky. So, and I think I have now said the word janky enough for the entire year. I'm going to stop using that word.
I'm just waiting for Scooby Doo to come in. That's all I'm waiting for. And that totally works. I don't think I've heard the word so much except on Scooby Doo. So yeah, yeah, you've given us even more insight to your childhood, Todd. Yeah. That's the LB says, you mean it's entertaining rather than being boring and pedantic? Exactly. I'm with you on that
Yes.
one. Yeah, I
Thank you,
don't
Lady.
understand that.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm like, we want to escape. Also, Becca said Todd is just kind to his core.
Yeah. Well, again, we've already established that Becca is biased, I think, right? So
That was for your writing. That seems to me that's a whole different thing there. I'm not sure. I think you need to up her pay. That's what I think that is. That's right. I'm on your side, Becca. All right.
everybody's on Becca's side, especially
Not
when it
fair,
comes
right?
between,
You're like,
like,
it's not fair.
yeah,
It's my name on
especially if
the
it's
side.
like an argument between me and Becca, everybody's on Becca's side. That's just the way that it works.
I love it. You two are an awesome team. So keep going to cons, make those books go, man.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. Completely
Mm-hmm.
agree.
That's right. We want to spread the love. So I like that. Let's spread the fun. Yeah, Annette Salt says, Team Becca.
Yes.
And notice we put up the link, so anyone looking to get Slater, I'm about to say Kyvan the Unkillable. Anyone, but that one's on there too. Anybody ready for Slater and the Dragon? Make sure to click that link. You can get up there and get the 4th book. And of course, through that link, you can see all the other ones. So if you're 1 or 2 behind, you can grab those too. Becca says that she's Team Todd. See, you have one person on your team.
Right? Because I got to say, if I have to choose a team, I'm going to choose Team Becca also. So that's Becca is all alone on Team Todd over there.
That's
and everybody else is on Team Becca.
Though if Becca is on Team Todd and we're on Team Becca, doesn't that mean everyone is also on Team Todd?
I never thought of it that way before. You know what? You know, she might have orchestrated that on purpose.
Becca says exactly. See, that's what it is. That's what it all is. I love it. All right, so we talked a lot about Slater and Kyvan and the series in general. I'm wondering, how do you want people to feel when they're done with Slater the Dragon? Like, what big emotion are you hoping they're going to feel?
That it doesn't suck? No.
I'm not sure that's an emotion.
Fair enough. No. So, I mean, I was very afraid when I was writing Slater that it was not going to be good. And thankfully, all the feedback I've gotten since it's gotten into beta readers' hands and readers' hands has been positive. I think maybe that's just like part and parcel of getting to a certain level in one's career, is that we're, I don't know. I am very skeptical of everything that I churn out at this point. And ironically, I'm probably putting out better stuff than I've ever put out before. So it's kind of that combination. So what is the main thing that I want people to feel? Well, first of all, I want them to feel Slater. I mean, like I that was the point of this book, is that I want them to identify with this ADHD character who may be the most important character of all. I mean, like, Kyvan is definitely the tip of the sword, but the person wielding it might be Slater, you know? So that is something. I want them to feel the action ramping up, because we are going somewhere, and we are going somewhere big. And I'm not going to give you any spoilers about Bane of Giants, but it's going somewhere big. And I think people are going to be satisfied with this story at the end, if not outright cheering, and at some points throwing the book across the room. I kid you not. Buckle up, Buttercup, because it's coming. The whole 9 yards is coming.
I've been known to throw Becca, a book or two.
Yeah, Becca, who has read it, I think she had a higher emotional reaction to that part of Bane of Giants that I'm referring to than I've ever seen her react before. That was a moment, and I do too. But anyways. So I think excitement, a ramping up, and hope that our heroes will be up to the task, because every single one of them is freaking a superhero in their own way, right? And they've now got to come together and be the superheroes that defeat a pantheon of gods, essentially. And that's it's coming. It's coming.
That's the sad part about superheroes, right? When you have superheroes, you always get supervillains. So let's hope they can do it. But I have faith. I think it's going to happen. So I love that. So, any last words for our audience about this amazing series that you are close to concluding?
Yeah, so close to ending. Yeah, I've got it's Bane of Giants is not quite revised yet, and then I need to send it on to my editor. I would just ask if anybody has any questions. Like, do you have any questions? I mean, some people on here have read all the books. I know some people have maybe not read all the books. Does anybody have any questions about anything? I mean, I can answer whatever we got. Anything that pops up in the chat. Bring it on.
Yes, questions. We always love questions. So while we're doing questions, we've been trying to figure out how to end this series. See, ADHD, I get distracted. Luckily the sounds were even off, but a little vibration was all it took. Becca wants to know, what's your favorite Slater moment?
Favorite Slater moment. I think it's got to be, because it's going to be a little spoiler here, but I don't think it's much of a spoiler because it's pretty much on the back cover copy. Probably my favorite Slater moments are when he's talking to the dragon, because the dragon is this creature from beyond, but the dragon is not expecting Slater to be thinking so cognizantly. It's used to dealing with passionate, irrational human beings, and Slater is working on a different level, just naturally. That's just the way that he works. And so the dragon tries to draw him into this game where Slater will, of course, lose, and Slater makes the unobvious choice, which stymies the dragon, and having to play by his own rules, he has to not destroy the entire city. And so he's pissed. He is pissed. So that's like the first meeting. And then the second meeting is more of the same. And I can't tell you this because it is a huge spoiler, but there is a fantastic Slater and fantastic Khyven moment. Khyven is famous for these moments now, and that's coming. So yeah, again, I would love to tell you about that, but I'm not going to. But those are my favorite Slater moments. Those where he talks to the dragon, and you realize that Slater isn't just this bumbling wizard. Like when he focuses, it's tough. It's tough to outthink him, and just because he's got so many components to his intellect that even the dragon, if the dragon might have been able to like turn the tables on that if he had not underestimated Slater so egregiously, then he might have been able to turn it. But he does, of course, because the one thing that the giants are is arrogant. They believe that they are superior, and they, of course, stumble because of that, because some of the humans can keep up with them in certain areas. So that's one of those. Becca,
which is why you need a team. Yeah. Are there any love interest amongst your characters?
You know what? There totally is. I do like having a bit of romance in my stories. I mean, it never takes over the story, but one of the things that I've really enjoyed with these books, especially since the end of book 2, is Khyven and Laurel's relationship. So often in romance novels and in any story that has romance, you've got the tempestuous, tension-filled romantic thing where you're just hoping that they get together in the end. But of course, as we have seen in multiple sitcoms and other drama shows, once they get together, the ratings go, it's like we were loving the tension, right? It was like
unless they have a baby.
Unless they have a baby, then there's new tension. I mean, there's lots of ways to pump that up, but oftentimes that's what we want, is that tension. But of course, it also can be ruined by letting it linger too long. It's like, oh my gosh, are Pam and Jim ever going to get together? I mean, I'm tired of this sort of circling, right? So in this one, they do get together, and watching their relationship flourish in a positive way has been really fun for me. Like they're not making snap judgments and misinformation about each other that then throw them into these they like have their issues, but they're generally working them out in a non-dysfunctional way, in this sort of functional maybe relationship that we would be excited to be a part of, right? So that's been interesting. I've really enjoyed showing a positive couple in this. I mean, and of course, they've got so many things to deal with that we don't have to deal with. Like, it's like, oh, well, we got to save the world, and oh, we got to kill a giant, and oh, we got to go into the dark, and we got to do all these things. But we're gonna sit in a room together, look in each other's eyes, and reestablish that connection before we go off and do that. Like, that's an important part to do. So yes, there is romance, and I really like the tone of it in this. It's definitely a supporting component, not a central component.
No, I love it. Well, because I love when it's built like that, though, right? Because then that feels like a real relationship that can actually last. I always remember when I was a child and watched Speed, my thought at the end of that, like you said, right? We start to put patterns together. At the end of that, I was like, oh, sure, they're going to get together, but there's no way that relationship was built on adrenaline. Right. That is never. So by building the relationship, it's not just because they're in battle. It's not just because they almost died, right? It's not just because they're actually building a relationship. So I think that's a healthy way for us to read and experience those things anyways.
Yes, agreed.
Yep.
That's what I was thinking. Questions down there.
Yes, we do. Ellerby, I saw it somewhere. Do any characters we thought we wouldn't see again return?
Yes.
Oh, and that's it. That's all
I'm not telling you who.
That's all you get. You get a yes. I love that. Becca wants to know, who is your favorite giant to write?
Who is my favorite giant to write? So if we're counting Jai Katakos as a giant, because he's an elder giant transformed into that form. Ooh, wow. So in Slater and the Dragon, it's Jai Katakos. Let's say that. As we continue the story and we get to know Harkondos, who is the big bad. Like, I was really afraid to write Harkondos because, I mean, you've got Jai Katakos, you've got Tovos, you've got, Nevelos, you've got these giants that are just beyond comprehension. How am I going to make one that's the biggest and the baddest of them all. And he's the guy that's on the cover of Bane of Giants. That's Harkondos there. And boy, did he come together. He spoke to me like just his voice. I was going to have him be one thing, but man, he just kept pulling me back to this other thing. And finally, I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's who you are. And man, did it work. I don't want to spoil anything for you, so I'm not going to tell you why it worked, but you'll find out. You'll find out. Like, he's the boss. He is the one that's in charge, and you know that from the beginning. As unlikely as that may seem, you know it from the beginning. So, yeah, Harkondos, I think.
Yeah, Mystic says it's fun to hear you pronounce the names. It does, right? It makes it. You saw me kept pausing. I was like, wait, am I even saying these right? So yeah, it's fun to actually hear from the author the pronunciation of the names. I agree.
Well, just think of Luminance as French. Like, think of Luminance like they have a French pronunciation. So it's not Laurel, it's Laurel. That is how you pronounce her name in French. And then, well, probably nobody here knows a what is it, Estonian that I use? Anyways, for Usara. So Usara is, but I don't know. I don't even know Estonian. I just looked it up. So a lot of them are very Estonian, not Estonian, but Estonian names. Anyways, so yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, exactly. Sort of Shannara, we all say, but he wanted it to be Shannara, right? That's the big thing,
right? That's crazy.
Yeah, but he's actually a great lesson in this too, because he was also like, whatever. I mean, I wrote it; it's theirs now, and that's exactly it, right? You write it, and now it is the readers. And I think a lot more writers need to have that healthy look on it. So that's a lesson right there from a classic gentleman author.
I was on a panel with Terry Brooks at the Denver Comic-Con, and I pronounced it Shannara, and then he pronounced it Shannara, and I was like,
yeah.
When I looked over and I'm like, I've been pronouncing that wrong for decades. And his comment was, you're not the only one. He seemed a little sad about it, but I don't
yeah, sad, but still, it's just the way it is, right? So I just think it's hilarious to me when we saw an interview a long time ago about it. So it was just so funny to me. But that is the risk you take as writers, right? Because we're making things up, and who knows how people are going to pronounce it. And you know what? I don't care. Just enjoy the experience.
Exactly.
Yep. So finally, because we are all fans, and we're all fans of your work as well, and we'd like to know if we like some of the things you like, we are probably going to love your books. So I would like to know, what are you watching right now?
I'm watching The Walking Dead right now. I'm like the last person on the planet to watch The Walking Dead for the first time. And I avoided it for years because I don't like horror. And in fact, I tried to watch it when it first came out. It was really popular, and I watched literally the first 7 minutes. The moment that he comes up to the door that's chained and it says dead inside, it's like, and they're trying to get out. I'm like, nope, click, and I turned it off. I'm like, nope, this is not my thing, right? But yeah, so nobody give me any spoilers. I'm only on the 4th season, and I love it and I hate it. I love it and I hate it. Can I say that again? I hate it.
Yep.
Like, the character building is so cool, and the world building is so cool, and every time I have hope, because see, I'm a writer of hope. Like, I want the good guys to win in the end, and the more I watch this show, the more I'm like, it's not happening. You might as well give up that notion right now, even if there is one of them that wins in the end. There's so many of them that aren't going to win at this point, you know? I mean, it's just like, it's so frustrating. Like, like the biggest thing, can I say a spoiler? I don't want to spoil it for anybody else.
It's been years.
Okay. So there's a point at which they sort of, come and gather in this prison, which has fences that keep out the walkers, that they call them, the dead, right? And they've fixed it up, and they've got it such that they cleared out all the dead from the inside, and now they're starting to feather their nest. And then some dickwad from out in the world comes and sends a box truck through the front gate. And I don't know why. I mean, people are dying left and right in this movie, but what emotionally affected me was that, because they had built something and now they've destroyed the gate, and you can't make metal in this world. Nobody's making metal anymore. How are you going to repair that gate? There's no way. I was just so beside myself and upset that there was no going back from that. Once they blew that gate open, it's like, that's not going to stop the walkers now. Oh, I was so mad. I'm very emotionally invested. In case
have you gotten to the point where they go to the town that's kind of stable?
Oh no, they're now, there's a lot of them that are heading. I think you're mentioning Terminus. I think that's the one you're talking about, is like where they put up all the signs on the railroad tracks.
No, not that one. The Good Town. So I think you have then. If you've gotten to Terminus, I'm pretty sure the Good Town is before that. I mean, good is relative in this world. Stable town, I should probably say.
The one led by the governor?
Yes, I think.
I don't know if I'd call that the good town, because the governor is like, he needs to be killed and brought back to life and killed again and then brought back to life and killed again
I
over and
don't
over and over.
remember. It's been so many years for me. My point is, there was a certain point in it where I realized the good guys were becoming the bad guys, and I wasn't interested anymore. Because it's like you said, right? Like, you want to root for him, you want him to. And there was a certain point where I had decided, as a storyteller, you look at things a little differently, right? And I was like, and I know
Yes.
what I want out of my fiction. And so there, because Game of Thrones, I did the same thing. I stopped watching Game of Thrones, even though the characters were amazing and, it was beautiful to look at. That I couldn't, it's not what I want to settle down to. Right. And
Yep.
that's what I got to with Walking Dead. I never finished it. And something happens later that Becca said, don't spoil because you haven't gotten there yet. That I
Yes,
was
I
so
got
glad
it.
I quit before that point. I can't even tell you how grateful I was that I had stopped watching it before that point.
Yeah,
So
well,
yeah.
one of my super fans dropped a big spoiler on me while we were out at dinner.
Oh
Before I could tell her, I haven't watched the whole thing, so it wasn't her fault.
no.
I should have. So I know somebody that's going to die that I really, really, really don't want to die. I won't say the name just in case somebody else. But
Spoil for someone else.
yeah, I think one of the things as a writer watching that show that bums me out is when there's dumbassery just to make sure we hit the trope. Because the trope is you want things to jump out of the dark and like, oh no, it's scary. And I'm just like, these people live in a world of zombies. There is no way in hell that some zombie that makes noise like, is going to sneak up and get 6 inches close to you from behind. No way that happens. And yet there's always these like, tight shots on people as they're looking around, right? And then all of a sudden there's a zombie behind them. I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. Not also like, anytime there's a scene where somebody is not carrying a knife that it's at least that long with them is a bullshit scene. There's no way. Like, I would go to the bathroom with a knife that long. I would take a shower with a knife on the freaking, soap dispenser if I lived in this world. There is no way I would ever be without a weapon. That is not.
You never feel comfortable.
So, yeah, anytime it's like they go into this room and they don't have any weapons on their person whatsoever, and then a zombie comes out of the dark, I'm like, bullshit. There's no way. There's no way. Like, they would have a weapon. They would have something. They'd have like a poker from the fireplace, or it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
You go unarmed in this world. Ever, 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 ever. I don't care.
Because these are the people who survived, right? So these are the people who survived. They're going to have those instincts to always. I wouldn't survive.
Always.
I'd already be dead.
Always.
Yeah.
I think the only character that does it well is Carl. Like, he's the only sensible character, the kid, right? He's always wanting to walk around with a weapon. And I'm like, and his dad's constantly like, no, you shouldn't carry a gun now. We're being peaceful now. I'm like, screw you, dude. There's like zombies in the world. Like, he should carry a gun wherever he goes.
Yeah, and know how to use it, know how to take care of it, know how to. Yeah, exactly. 100%. 100%. So that's what you're watching. What are you reading?
So what I'm reading are several things right now. I'm reading Advantage by Joe Solari. I am reading Salem's Lot for the first time, so no spoilers, by Stephen King. And I am also reading Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman, who we met at Superstars, who is a great guy. That guy. Oh my gosh. He's such the writer, not so. I mean, he would be the first to say he's not so much the businessman. In fact, he did say that in his talk several times. But we went to breakfast with him, and he was doing what I wished I was doing. Like he like took the sleeve off of the straw and put it in his drink, and then he sort of like folded it. He was just quietly, while we were talking, folding up the sleeve, and then he put it on the table in front of him. We're quietly talking. He just he's like Slater. He's a little bit like Slater, and he like takes his straw out of the thing and drops a couple of bits of water on it, and it grows like one of those snakes that you would get during 4th of July. I mean, we were just, both Becca and I were like, okay, we like you. You're awesome. Like, if that's what you're like looking for the things to mess around with on the table. He was fantastic. I really, really liked him. So those are the 3 things that I'm reading right now. One's a writerly business book, and then the other 2 for fun,
Excellent. And lastly, what are you listening to right now?
What am I listening to right now?
I mean, that could be audiobooks or music or,
Yeah. So my favorite song right now is by Dua Lipa, which is Physical, I think. I just love the beat of that song. Is really, really fantastic. And I mean, I've got on Spotify, I've got my favorites list. And so oftentimes I'll just be listening to whatever Spotify thinks I will enjoy. And I'm like, nope. And then it'll be like
maybe that
something new, right?
Yes.
And then I'll add it to my liked list, and then just keep listening in order on my liked list. So I have a high tolerance for repetition. Like I have a high, once I like something, I
Same.
will listen to it 10,000 times.
I
Then
agree.
I will stop listening to it for a year, and then after a year, I'll be like, oh, I remember this song, and then I'll listen to it 10,000 times again, right? So yeah, that's
I
kind of
think
the
we
way
have the
that.
same ADHD. Yeah, that's
Yes, right.
exactly. Especially if it's a
Oh
new
yes, and
song that I
there's the
love.
book.
Yeah, a new song I love. I have to learn all the words, so I listen to it over and over and over again. Yeah, yeah, I love it. So awesome. And Todd, officially, this means that you have been on the podcast more than Mark Stallings. So that's right. You are the champion of the Cursed Dragon Ship podcasts. So nicely done. And also, now that everyone, they are huge fans, and they would, where can they find you and your work?
ToddFahnestock.com. It's a full service website. In fact, at this point, we're starting to send out signed copies. So if you want a paperback or hardback copy from me, I'm signing and mailing them out myself. So you can get that as well as ebooks and audiobooks. Also, we're going to be doing a big audiobook push this year. I don't have all my books in audiobook, and I'm going to be the reader. So if you think you might like me as a narrator, check out Fairmist. Check out Ordinary Magic. Check out Charlie Fiction. Those are 3 of the ones that I have done, and that's what you'll be in store for. I actually have Kaiven the Unkillable finished, except for a little bit of editing, so it's on deck. We're going to get that one done soon.
That is fantastic. Jen Bear is very excited about that. She wants the audio. So excellent, excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. Congratulations on this very exciting book launch, and we'll see y'all next week.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming.